Hello, everyone. Welcome to the info session today for fundraising management and non-voluntary sector management. My name is Mushar Chaudhry, and I'm the manager of recruitment and sales for the Chang School. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the land on which Toronto Metropolitan University is built upon. Toronto is within the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon treaty is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and the Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. I want to pay my respects to the Indigenous peoples, elders, and ancestors who stewarded and cared for the nature and the people who lived on the land where TMU is located today. At the university, we've made a deep and long-lasting commitment to truth and reconciliation. I invite you to learn more about this work online. Now I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's session. Your microphone is muted throughout the event so as not to disturb other attendees or presenters. For the hearing impaired, we have automated captioning available, which you can access by activating it in the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. You will have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenters by typing your questions in the question box of the control panel. You may send in your questions during the session, and we will answer them at the end of the presentations. Now I'd like to introduce our guest speakers for today. First, we have Krishan Mehta, Vice President of University Advancement and Alumni Relations and Academic Coordinator for the Fundraising Certificate. Juni Fassi, Academic Coordinator for the Nonprofit and Voluntary Sector Certificate. Ben Liadsky, Course Instructor here at the Chang School. And Michelle Hounslow, Executive Director at University Advancements and Alumni of the course. Welcome you all. I'd like to now invite Krishan and Juni to provide a quick overview of the certificate.
Great, thank you very much for that kind introduction, and hello everybody. Today is Giving Tuesday, which is a global movement to support the charitable sector and the very important causes that many of us in the fundraising and nonprofit world are involved in. And so I just want to start off acknowledging that this is a very auspicious time for those of us who work in the charitable sector, the nonprofit sector, specifically in fundraising. So how fortuitous it is for us to be gathered here today to learn more about these two certificates. The Fundraising Management Certificate, as was noted earlier, that I lead as the academic coordinator and currently teach in, is a fully online program that was recently redeveloped into 5 courses. Each course deals with the art and science of fundraising within our communities. It is completely asynchronous. In other words, you can do it at your own pace and your own time, depending on your availability. And of course, we look at the principles of fundraising. We look at the operations of fundraising. We look at the very important issue of data analytics in fundraising. And then, of course, the very important strategies and tools used in the fundraising environment. And then finally, there's another course which I teach, which is around current issues, looking at some of the gray areas, the emerging trends, and some of the hot button issues that are influencing change in the sector. This is a program that can be completed within a year or a year and a half, depending on how much capacity you have in your life to take on some of this extra learning and professional development. And the cost is between $3,600 and $4,400. That's all inclusive of the fees for the program. One thing related to cost that you should know is that most of the materials associated with the course, like a book or a textbook or some other type of material outside, is we're trying to keep the cost to a minimum, because this is really important for you to feel and for all of us to have access to this course, to this program. And so we've done that at a minimum. For example, in the course that I'm teaching on current issues, there's a book report that you get to choose your final assignment book report. And of course, you can purchase that book, take it out from the library, borrow it from a colleague or friend, so keeping the costs down. So who should take this program? It's really interesting because when you look at who's enrolled in the program, you have a number of different kinds of students. We have some emerging professionals, those who have less than 3 years of experience in fundraising, working in an organization and looking to advance their career. We have folks who are career transitioners. They have a background in fashion, like my friend and colleague Michelle Hounslow, who will speak to you in a moment, does, or perhaps in law or accounting or another field, and have either volunteered in the sector and have found great meaning and purpose in fundraising, or have some experience in fundraising through their professional work. And so another group are people who have been touched by the power of philanthropy. And so we're really excited about welcoming all of those diverse experiences into this program. And then, of course, we have folks who are just really keen to learn more about the changing nature of generosity in their specific communities. This is not a program only for students living and working in Canada. We have really designed this program also for people who want to engage in the charitable sector wherever you are. Whether that's in Toronto, Ontario, across the country in Canada, or even globally. That's an important part of the planning that we did in redeveloping this entire certificate. Next slide, please. So there are lots of reasons why you might want to pursue this certificate, and here are a list of them. But I wanted to talk about the importance of developing specialized skills and knowledge. This program and certificate is really developed with the intention to ensure that you have the requisite skills to succeed in a fundraising career. And so we look at issues around digital fundraising, campaign management, donor cultivation, grant writing, for example. And of course, we really wanted that curriculum to be industry relevant so that you can apply that work directly into your field and into your specific roles. Issues around data analytics and AI, cybersecurity are influencing the ways in which we practice fundraising in the not-for-profit and charitable sector. And so all of those issues and themes are covered within this program. All of the instructors have been carefully selected because of their leadership in the charitable sector and in fundraising specifically. And with them comes a vast and wide network. And so one of the best most exciting parts of this program is that you get to interact with instructors and fellow students who have a wide range of experiences and know a lot of people in fundraising. And that has proven to be really beneficial outside of the curriculum and the learning proper, to be able to connect with people informally about mentorship, about job opportunities, about sponsorship, and really getting an inside track on what's happening within the fundraising world. Of course, career advancement is a big part of that work, and we're really excited about the ways in which our alumni have built their careers and have used the curriculum and the certificate to really amp up their work in fundraising and to build their careers. And I'm sure Michelle will talk a little bit about that in a moment. And of course, the piece around flexibility is so important. Ensuring that this certificate worked with the parameters and obligations that you currently have, all the things on your plate, was really important as we designed this certificate. And then finally, I just want to talk about industry trends and ensuring that you understand how important it is as we develop this certificate to align with what's happening in fundraising, broadly speaking. As I mentioned, there are a number of issues and themes that we talk about. We also look at issues that are a little gray or thorny, or that are perhaps in kind of an emerging mode. Issues around community-centric fundraising, for example, issues around equity, inclusion, and belonging in philanthropy, challenging issues that some fundraising communities are experiencing as it relates to changes in policy and legislation. These are the things that are covered in the fundraising management certificate. And so finally, just want to comment on the nature of the certificate is really focusing on both the art and science of fundraising practice. So with that, I'd like to pass it over to Junie to talk about the nonprofit certificate.
Thank you, Christian. So My name is Junie Facey, and I've been teaching at TMU in the Chang School in the Nonprofit and Voluntary Sector Management program for about 14 years and working in the nonprofit sector for about 30, and recently, about 2 months now, taking on the role of academic coordinator for the program. Our nonprofit and voluntary sector management program is the first of its kind. In Canada, actually, it was launched in 1998. There are 8 courses in the program, and they can be completed in as little as a year, 8 months actually, to a maximum of 5 years, and it's offered online. Next slide, please. I think I'm way ahead in this. Anyway, I don't think this is my presentation because we have 8 courses.
Yeah, I'm sure you have to advance about 3 slides.
Okay, thank you. So some of the trends and the emerging opportunities include that Canadian nonprofits are locally and globally operating. Canada's charitable sector is the largest in North America and actually the second largest in the world, with over 170,000 organizations. The career opportunities are significant, ranging from government, business, and community. And it contributes about 151 billion to Canada's GDP each year, which is more than the finance, gas, and oil industries. The sector is also adaptable to the changing environment, including social innovation, evidence-based partnership, leadership, and post-COVID recovery. Next slide, please. So similar to what Krishan shared with us, emerging leaders can take this program. Professionals who are already in the sector, emerging founders, people transitioning in their careers, undergraduates, as well as people from the public and private sector. Next slide, please. Career paths include local, national, and international nonprofits and charities, sector-wide organizations and associations, think tanks, government and government nonprofits, business nonprofits, and professional associations. Next, please. By completing the certificate, you will master organizational practices and sector dynamics, develop skills in financial management, evaluation, strategic planning, and marketing, enhance your leadership, advocacy, and government relations expertise, and promote effective governance strategies in equity, diversity, and inclusion. You will gain insight on Canada's international NGOs and understand and critically reflect on key issues and opportunities. Next slide. As I mentioned before, there are 8 courses. 4 are required and 4 are electives. 1.67 plus as a cumulative grade point average is about a C minus, 60 to 62%. Next slide. And the courses. So we want you to start with CNIP 900, which is Understanding the Nonprofit Sector, as well as 901, which is Effective Nonprofit Organizations, and then, which are both required courses, and then 902, which is Evaluation. And Ben teaches evaluation, and he'll be talking soon. And that's also a required course. And then you have the opportunity to select from a range of elective courses. 910 is strategic planning. 911 is advocacy and government relations in nonprofits. 912 is marketing. 913 is leadership. 914 is diversity in nonprofits. 915 is financial management in nonprofits. And 916 is nonprofits on the global stage. And then we hope that you will wrap up the certificate with the last course, which is 920, and it is critical issues in nonprofits. And again, this is one of the required four. Next slide. Well, I am now thanking you for listening to my 4 minutes, and I'm passing it back to Mashura.
Thank you so much, Krishan and Junie, for providing that overview of both the certificates. It was really a pleasure for us to see both the certificates being shared, and I know all of our users here are eagerly waiting for our next speaker. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Michelle Hounslow, who's the Executive Director at University Advancement and alumna of the Fundraising Certificate. Go ahead,
Thank
Michelle.
you so much, Mashur. And I just want to welcome everybody who joined us today. And thank you for considering taking one of the certificates at the Chang School. I'm here today in part because of that. Christian did the spoiler alert. I am a TMU alumna. So I graduated with my undergrad from the School of Fashion back in the 90s, and I had a great career. I worked for 14 years in the sector, and it was incredible while it lasted. Um, and then things changed. And, you know, I'm a hard worker. But I started to really do some self-reflection after 14 years and realized that I wanted to work a little bit more closely with people. I like people, and I wanted to spend my time and hard work on something that was a little more meaningful. So I kind of, you know, did my self-reflection, and I thought, I think I want to do fundraising. So that's when I applied back in 2010. I applied for the fundraising management certificate, my first class. So I know some of you will be in the same position as me, thinking about making a career change. And I will say that while I was taking that first fundraising 101 course with Kathy Mann, I loved it. I realized I think this is going to be something I'm really going to enjoy doing. And of course, you know, I was going from a senior position in my design job to not, you know, applying for everything and anything and finding it a little bit frustrating because even though I knew I had many transferable skills, I just needed to convince somebody to hire me. So, you know, I wanted to talk really quickly about a few of the key benefits I got from the program. And first and foremost, I'll say going from knowing nobody at all in the sector, meeting people and meeting the instructors and role models was paramount for me. Right from that very first course I took, I called up Kathy Mann and I said, I want to change. I don't know how to do it. Can you help me? And she was so welcoming. We met and she gave me great advice. She said, you know, you're not going to get this job, your next job, because of your experience. You're going to get it because of your network. And she was absolutely right. She encouraged me to apply at CAMH Foundation, which is what my first job was. And you know, like Drake, I started at the bottom. And I really did. I started at as a development coordinator, but so they were kind enough to pay for the rest of my certificate at the Chang School. And what was fantastic about it was that I got to test my skills while also learning on the job. I must say, one of the things that I really attribute my early success in my career was just even learning all of the background, the nuts and bolts of fundraising, like the terminology and things like that, which can be very difficult to kind of get a grasp on when you transition from another sector. So then, you know, I do credit me sitting here with you today to Christian, because in 2015, he hired me. He was one of my instructors. That's how I met him from the fundraising management program. And here I am, almost a decade later at TMU, still learning from Christian and learning from all my colleagues around me. But I just want to say, I think if you care about the world and you care about people and you want to have a little hand in making change, you are in the right place. And I do encourage you to even just try one course and see what you think, because I think you'll be blown away.
That's such a great story, Michelle. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. You're an example of what we love to do here at the Chang School, right? Pivoting careers and doing what you really love to do. So thank you so much for
Thank you for
sharing that.
having me.
Yeah, we it's our pleasure. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Ben Liatsky, course instructor at the Chang School. Welcome, Ben.
Thanks, Bashir. Yeah, my name is Ben Liadsky. I currently work two jobs. So my primary job is working for a grant-making foundation called the Counseling Foundation of Canada. And then I also do part-time some research and evaluation work for a consulting firm called Taylor Newberry Consulting. I spent my whole career prior to my current roles in the nonprofit sector. I'm still connected to the nonprofit sector, but now I'm on the funding side and the consulting side. But I started way back when as a very eager environmental activist in a small grassroots organization. And if you've had experience with nonprofits, I think my story is probably going to be reflective of a lot of others' experience, and that I had a lot of different roles and worked for a lot of different organizations over time. I was a program manager, I was a communications person, I did fundraising, I did volunteer management, I did admin, I did all sorts of different jobs. Which is one of the exciting things I think about being in the nonprofit sector is you get to wear different hats. So if you're somebody that likes to do lots of different things and have lots of different opportunities, the nonprofit sector is great for that. But I'll be honest, I'm both a champion and a critic of the nonprofit sector, and I've been around long enough to notice some trends. So as a champion, I really can't stress how many incredible people I've met in this sector. Nonprofits exist because communities decided that they had some kind of unmet need, and they formed a nonprofit to do something about it. So as you saw in some of the slides, nonprofits exist in every community across the country. They provide vital, important services in everything from healthcare and employment to child and youth development to arts and culture and so much more. And I think one of the things that both of these programs that you're listening to today do or to do as increase the professionalization in the nonprofit sector, increase the ability of nonprofits to do better work and the people in them to succeed. At the same time, I can be a bit of a critic because I think the work is really hard. And sometimes it does fly under the radar from those who are not part of the nonprofit sector. And I also think sometimes nonprofits don't always do a good job of telling their own stories. And I'll use this as sort of a way to pivot to my connection to TMU, which is that I teach CIMP 902, which is evaluation for nonprofits. And what you'll learn if you take my course, which I hope you do, is just how important evaluation is to that storytelling and to everything that nonprofits do. Fundamentally, evaluation answers the fundamental question of so what? We do programs, we do projects, we do all sorts of services in the nonprofit sector. As I mentioned, what was the impact? What difference do these programs and services make in the lives of the people we serve? So evaluation is about thinking through how and when to ask thoughtful, sometimes difficult questions about the work that nonprofits do to inform action, to improve those programs, to improve those services. And it's also, as I mentioned, linked to storytelling and communicating what nonprofits are all about. So what does impact look like, not only for my individual organization, but if I have a program in my organization that's really doing great things, it's hitting all the benchmarks and making a positive difference in people's lives. How do we tell that story so other nonprofits, governments can pick up that work and benefit even more communities? So evaluation helps with that too. And that in turn, can help to lead to more investment, more fundraising. So there's this cyclical element to evaluation that I think is really key. So perhaps you can tell from my brief few minutes, but I'm really passionate about evaluation. I think it can do a lot of good and it's important work. And that's part of the reason why I think it's part of this program. So thank you for indulging me for my few minutes here.
Thank you, Ben, and love your passion. Thank you for sharing that with us. I wanted to also thank all of our guest speakers here today. That is the end of the presentation portion of today's session. We'll now open it up to the floor for everyone for Q&A. And if I may request, when you're posting your questions, if you could just put the name of the certificate you're interested in, or if you're interested in both, just put both. And yeah, go ahead and put those questions in. We'll be fielding them. I know a few of them have come in already. And Junie, I'm gonna go to you for the first one. If you can provide a clear distinction between the two courses, the two certificates.
So I'm not as familiar with the fundraising, but based on what we talked about today, that's primarily what the program is about. It's a fundraising certificate versus the second one, which I spoke about, which is looking at the nonprofit sector and a range of courses around what does it mean to be a leader in the nonprofit. And Krishan, if there's anything else that you think is helpful to add to the distinction around the fundraising, please
Yeah,
do
in,
add.
in some ways, fundraising management is supports the fueling, the revenue, the financial success of an organization, a nonprofit's mission and vision. So, you know, in the nonprofit and voluntary sector management certificate, you're learning about leadership in the not-for-profit sector, what's going on in the not-for-profit sector, how to show impact through evaluation, as Ben so eloquently noted, and also really about some of the challenges and opportunities that arise through your involvement and leadership in nonprofits. Fundraising looks at how does philanthropy, how do donors and volunteers contribute to the success of those nonprofits.
Awesome, thank you. Ben, Michelle, did you want to add anything to that?
I'd say 2012 is when I graduated, so I will defer to Judy and Christian. Thank you, though.
Awesome. Okay, well, thanks for sharing. Okay, next question is from Cassia. Oh, okay, Cassia, we will actually send you the email contact with and you can send us the questions. So yeah, sorry, next question is regarding remote, the courses being remote. So since the course is 100% remote, how will it help students who create a relevant network and who want to create a relevant network and join the industry? As it was mentioned, it's a key for someone who wants to start in the area. And I guess it would relate to both certificates, but I think fundraising can start.
Sure. Well, we made a decision to move the entire certificate online for a couple of reasons. One is we wanted to create opportunities for people to connect beyond their kind of local geographies and to do all of our activities or the majority of our activities in person on campus at a specific time and place, really kind of boxed us in with regards to networking opportunities. So the challenge about doing things online is that, you know, those are very defined by your own availability. And so what we've done within our certificate, and I'd imagine that within other certificates at the Chang School, this is also true, is create opportunities for live interaction, just like we have here with instructors and students. Those aren't necessarily mandatory components of each certificate. It certainly isn't within the fundraising management certificate, but there are many opportunities that the instructors will provide for ways in which students can interact with one another, but also with their instructors and perhaps even a guest speaker or an industry expert. And so that is something that we intentionally put into the schedule as opportunities and issues arise, or specific questions or a speaker is available.
Thank you.
And I'll jump in if
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yes.
So thank you. So every course in the nonprofit and voluntary sector management program has a discussion forum component. And at the very beginning of the term, we open it up to allow students to talk about who they are, what's important to them, why they want to do this course. And through that, it facilitates an online community. And that discussion forum is also a major component of the course learning, 15 to 20%. So active participation and discussion, students are asked to respond to a question, but also to respond to their classmates. And we also include a couple of other forums that are a little bit more friendlier. So there's a coffee shop forum, so people can talk to each other, not necessarily related to the course, as well as a forum for questions that students can ask each other.
That's a really good point. And similarly with the fundraising management certificate, the discussion board within each course is so important to exchanging new ideas and perhaps even just sharing some challenges and case studies. In addition to that, the fundraising management certificate encompasses opportunities for some group work as well. And so that some of the courses in some of the courses, you're put into groups, or you get to select groups to be able to work on a specific case study or a specific reading and work with one another on a series of questions related to that particular activity. So there's also a way to connect through the assignments.
And I can attest to that because I am still friends with some of the people I met like 15 years ago. So it's great to have colleagues in your network, and it's great to have leaders in your network. You need both.
Yes, awesome. Thank you for sharing that, and the benefits of having that remote work, going beyond where you are, and also having friends after so many years. So yeah, thanks for sharing those. Next question is for the nonprofit and voluntary sector management certificate. Someone's asking if you would recommend taking 2 courses at a time when working full-time.
You've got to know what works for you. So personally, I'm addicted to learning, and I am always taking some kind of course or 2. You got to know what works for you. So because I love learning, I can take more than one, but if you know that you need a little bit more of a pace, then do so. If you have a goal to complete the program within a short timeline, then of course taking 2 at the same time makes sense, because then you could complete the whole program in 8 months. You got to figure out what works for you. We have designed the program so that they build on each other. So they complement. So I don't know if there's much of a strain if you're doing 2 courses. And of course, we do try to make sure that we're communicating as a program if there are scheduling issues that might be helpful for more than one course to be aware of.
And I just got a message. I know we have Dave Dalrymple, our academic and career advisor, and I know he's on the call. You might want to add a couple of things. Hey, Dave.
Hey everyone. Just in terms of the question about networking events and opportunities for doing that, despite this being or in addition to this being an online program, we are confirming details for a networking event for these 2 certificates, as well as the Community Engagement, Leadership, and Development certificate, tentatively scheduled for 5:30 p.m. On campus on January 23rd. So that hasn't been formally posted yet, but it's likely happening, and details about that will be posted on the Chang School events page, which you can see in the Q&A. Adam has posted a link to that as an answer to the question about networking. So just to keep that on your calendars as well, January 23rd.
Thanks for that, Dave. Nice plug in there.
But sure, can I just maybe comment also or build off of what Junie was saying with regards to workload and capacity? And
absolutely, yeah, go for it.
Because the fundraising management certificate is 5 courses, and there are only 3 terms in a year, we do not offer every course every semester. So what you do need to think about if you're going to pursue the fundraising management certificates in particular is the availability of courses. And so when you go on to the certificate website page, you'll see when the next series of offerings are available. And so it's important to be able to plan out the year or year and a half. Things change in life, and so you have a bit of a runway to be able to plan around whatever else is happening in your world. But some of the courses are only available once a year, and so the majority actually. And so it's really important for you to be thinking about, what does your life look like in September versus January versus May.
That's a very good point. Scheduling that is really important because of how the courses are offered. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, Krishan. Next question is for the fundraising certificate. It's by Kim. Thank you for your question, Kim. So Kim is saying that I've worked as a comms and marketing lead at nonprofits and have since worked for startups. Would the fundraising certificate help me build a portfolio to re-enter the NFP world beyond the certificate credentials?
I would say absolutely. I've talked to hundreds of fundraising leaders who are also managers within the sector, and who are frankly hiring folks with tremendous talent and experience. The certificate is really an opportunity to demonstrate your commitment to fundraising leadership and management, but also it provides an opportunity for you to come back with kind of a leg up in this space. One of the things that's really interesting is the ways in which the word fundraising is used dynamically throughout various sectors, right? So the for-profit sector, or even in the startup world, fundraising is often related to stability and revenue generation. A lot of those types of revenue models are being integrated or questioned within the fundraising world as well, the philanthropy world. And so in some ways, your experience in startups in particular will support and help you accelerate your work in the not-for-profit sector as well.
Awesome. So the next question is sort of for probably both the certificates, so I'll let you all weigh in a little bit. It's about referrals or opportunities after finishing the certificate. What type of referral opportunities or job opportunities would there be, or if there is any? So yeah, Junie can start, and then Krishan, you can add in.
Thank you. I wouldn't say that there are, or that there is a focused referral process through the certificate program, but I have definitely seen the impact the learning has had on people's careers. Every now and again, someone reaches out to me and tells me, what I learned in XX course. So I'll put a plug in. I teach the strategic planning course and the leadership course. And I've heard from students across my 14 years telling me the different kind of conversations that they've been able to have in their organizations when they haven't been a leader, but those conversations have allowed their organization to see them as a leader. And then they've moved on to more of a formal leadership role. I've seen individuals come back and tell me that, I wanted to move into the nonprofit sector world, didn't think I had enough experience or knowledge, but I took the course and now my career is in the nonprofit world. So I think if nothing else, the skills and the confidence and the confidence of self, but I think the confidence of others around the individual in believing the skills and the competencies displayed.
Yeah, look, the Chang School has an incredible network and career, life after certificate type of career advising series of initiatives as well. And a number of our alumni have tapped into those services. And in addition to that, what we did at the Chang School fundraising management certificate is set up a LinkedIn group, which now has about 700 members. Quite frequently, fundraising managers or people who are looking for fundraising talent will go onto that LinkedIn page to source potential candidates for an opportunity, or for people to just post an opportunity for a new role within an organization. And so it's quite an active group. There are postings about jobs and career advice that's on there from alumni, from friends of the program, and also from instructors and those who are leading fundraising shops, both in Canada and around the world. So it's a really useful tool, and it's available to anyone really who's interested in a career path in fundraising.
Love it. Thank you for sharing. So at this point, we don't have any open questions, and I know Ben, you haven't shared anything in a little bit, so I want to just open it up to you if you have any closing thoughts. I know we're almost at time.
I guess, I was just reflecting on what I heard, and at least for the evaluation course that I teach, I think there's a lot of transferable skills, whether you sort of are just doing evaluation on its own and are thinking not just about the nonprofit world, but other potential avenues. So for instance, in the course that I'm teaching right now this semester, there's a couple of people from government. I've had people from previous editions reach out to ask, what is it like to be a consultant and how do you get in that world? I've had somebody go back to take evaluation that's led to them work in academia. So I think there's probably lots of courses in the certificate program where there's probably similar stories. So I think, not necessarily about referrals or networks, but to think about the skills that you learn as you take these courses that can be applicable in a number of different career paths. And at least, the instructors like myself, I think are happy to share what we know there and support that conversation and journey the best we can.
That is such a crucial piece. Thank you so much for sharing that. Transferable skills are, I think, so important, and something, in continuing ed is, you really look for, and I think it's something that's, like you said, so important to focus on top of the other things that you get. And then I know we have a few minutes remaining. Michelle, I'll bring you in for some closing thoughts.
Thank you. I agree with what Junie said. I think confidence is definitely something that you get by taking these courses and by trying out your skills. You can volunteer to get experience and expand your network. I must admit, I was happily surprised that I seem to be good at some of this stuff. So I think that's, luckily I had instructors that had job openings too. So, I mean, it's not necessarily a formal process of asking somebody for a referral, but I know that most people in this industry are really great people, and pretty much everybody would give you some time for an exploratory phone call or an informational interview, something like that. So I mean, I urge you to try it. Just take the first course and see what you think after that.
Exactly. Like I like to say, snack on it on the first course, and then
Yeah.
see if you want to take the full course after the full meal. All right. Over to you, Junie, and then we'll finish off with Krishan.
I guess my only last statement is I'm also an alumni of TMU. So my undergrad is through this program, and I am so pro TMU. Like, I'm always championing the experience that I have had because of this institution, the learning. And one of my first experiences with an organization, they said to me, they can always tell when someone has learned from this institution. And so the mark is there, quality education.
Wow, Junie, that looks amazing. As someone who leads alumni relations at TMU, I found my next spokesperson. But I guess all I want to say is that, for both of these certificates, really, it's really meant for people who want to demonstrate impact and change, and who deeply want to see their communities thrive and succeed. And these are providing the skills and tools and understanding on how to do that. And the alumni from the program are having a true and tangible transformative impact on not just their communities, but really the world. And I know that sounds maybe a little cheesy or corny, but it's absolutely true. And I can give you countless examples. Michelle's here, Ben's here, Junie's here, and everyone is making a positive contribution to change. And we hope you do too.
Well, it's hard to follow up after such great inspirational moments and experiences that you all shared today. I just want to say thank you to all of our guest speakers, and thank you to everyone to take the time out of your day during lunch hour to attend today's session. If you're interested in more information about the certificate presented today, please visit our website at continuing.torontomu.ca. And if you have any other questions, you can contact me directly at mash.chaudhry@torontomu.ca. So all of the information that was shared and a recording of this session with the survey will be sent to you within 24 to 48 hours. And on behalf of the Chang School and our presenters, thank you for joining us today. Have a great rest of the day. Bye, everyone.